If there was one word to describe WrestleMania 37 Night 1, it would be wild. Because that was one of the wildest nights I've ever seen in WrestleMania history. Whether planned or not, it was wild. Right from the jump, seeing fans back in attendance, I forgot how that felt. And then Vince McMahon is at the top of that stage with the entire roster behind him. What a moment. And America the Beautiful being played with all of the superstars on that ramp. You saw the emotion, what it meant to them. And people question, how real is professional wrestling? Look at the emotion that these professional wrestlers had on a night like last night. That raw emotion. That tells you just how real pro wrestling is, at least to them. Because they know the blood, sweat, and tears that it took to get to that stage. Man, what a moment. Right into something we've never seen before in pro wrestling, or at least not at that stage level. At WrestleMania, a rain delay of nearly 45 minutes. And we watched as WWE frantically tried to get its superstars in front of a camera to cut unscripted promos. And we watched those wrestlers stumble over their words and get flustered, but they worked their way through it. And it was so cool to see. So they can be reminded of the confidence that is within them to cut unscripted promos in a time in pro wrestling where everything is scripted, overly scripted. And they need to start relying more on their gut instinct. That it factor comes from who these people are deep down. That was so cool to see during that rain delay. And then we went into the first match, and BC was shocked. Not that Bobby Lashley retained the championship, but how he retained it, and how Drew McIntyre put him over. BC was rocked. Oh, we're going to talk about it. Right into the second match of the night, which could easily be one of, if not the worst match that I've ever witnessed. We're going to talk about it. Shane McMahon taking one of the hardest bumps I've ever witnessed. Bad Bunny shocking the world and impressing us all with what he did in that ring. We're going to talk about it. And Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair with the weight of the world on their shoulders. The first time in WrestleMania history that two females went one-on-one. Could they possibly live up to those expectations? Oh, we're going to talk about it. And when it was all said and done, and Sasha Banks was looking up at Bianca Belair, who was hoisting up that championship, if you didn't feel that moment, you gotta check the old polls. And Sasha Banks taking that braid shot by Bianca. And you see everybody in attendance cover their mouth, cringe immediately at how hard that hit was. The sound that it made when that braid hit the leather strap and flesh. You could hear that from Tampa Bay to New York City, and I'm pretty sure the UK is feeling the aftershocks. Oh, we're gonna talk about it. This is WrestleMania 37, the good, the bad, and the ugly review. And it starts right now. And to my veteran Amplified Unit members, allow me a minute to explain the rules to newer subscribers. 3 simple rules for the good, the bad, and the ugly review. Number 1, every match on the main show must get a tally in one of 3 columns. The good column, bad, and ugly. At any point during this review for any match, I can add additional tallies. Number 2, stay away from the ugly column. Every ugly turns to 2 bads in the final count. And I assure you that can drastically change the outcome in deciding if this pay-per-view was good or bad. Stay away from the ugly column. Number 3, in the event of a tiebreaker, we will then go to the kickoff show match to decide the final pay-per-view score. However, this final rule does not apply to this year's WrestleMania. For the first time ever in the good, the bad, and the ugly review history, there was no kickoff show match. Due to inclement weather in Tampa Bay, the kickoff show match was canceled. Therefore, as much as I hope we don't have to do this, if we are tied after we review the main event, this pay-per-view, for the first time ever in this review's history, will go down as a tie. Those are the rules. BC is here. My amp unit is here. So let's start this review right now. Oh man, I tell you guys, what a wild WrestleMania. Not only for what we saw in the ring, I mean that was a big part of it, but weather-wise, man, I've never seen anything like that. In fact, I think some of that Tampa Bay weather is working its way up north because it's pouring out right now, but the sun is also out, or at least a little bit, enough for BC to have to put on the Oakleys. But it's supposed to be like this all day, so I'm guessing all that weather is just on its way up north. But, man, you talk about wild. Vince McMahon starts the show with the entire roster on the stage behind him. And I just thought, what an epic moment this is. I forgot how it felt to have fans in attendance. And Vince McMahon, as much as we give him a lot of shit, and it's all for justified reasons, it was so good to hear those words, "Welcome to WrestleMania." And you see all the superstars and their emotion, especially when we had a great rendition of America the Beautiful that played, and we had the flyover. And during the whole introduction, the superstars remained on the stage during the entire playing of America the Beautiful, so you saw the raw emotion from them. Man, I just forgot how much I missed it. I think we take for granted just how awesome this whole professional wrestling world is sometimes. Just an awesome opening. Then, something we've never seen before at a WrestleMania, a weather delay. No joke, storms rolled in through Tampa Bay, and Michael Cole announces right from the jump that everything has come to a halt. Just wow, man. You say that's the worst case situation on an outdoor event like WrestleMania, but what I saw unfold was the opposite. But before I even get to that, you gotta think this is so fitting for the past year that we've all had. You almost expect the unexpected these days. It's almost fitting that there was storms to start WrestleMania. I mean, with the year that we've all had, could it have possibly gone any other way? You almost expect the unexpected nowadays. You know, you see this in NASCAR, you see this in Major League Baseball, but to see this at WrestleMania, man, that was a sight to see. And they held it together. So proud of these boys and gals. They had to do promos on the fly, unscripted last night. Old school style. This is how you create superstars, by allowing them to showcase who they are deep down inside. And that's how you truly find out who's got that it factor and who doesn't. But more importantly, that's how they find out if they have it deep down or not. That's how they truly find their confidence. Seth Rollins was great last night. What's his name? Kevin Patrick, the interviewer. And Seth kept calling him Mike. It reminds me of old school Chris Jericho. Who is it, Mike? He's like, Kevin Patrick, actually. He was like, Mike! Kevin, Mike! Seth Rollins was fucking pure gold. He was calling Cesaro like Sasaro, I believe. I mean, he was... nobody has a correct name according to Seth Rollins, and I was loving it. And that was on the fly, guys. That was nothing he had scripted. Kevin Owens. They asked Kevin Owens to just grab the mic and for several minutes just replay your history with Sami Zayn. And Kevin Owens, for several minutes, on the fly, just revisited the whole 20-year career he's had with Sami Zayn. I just thought that was absolutely phenomenal. You had Shane O'Mac cutting one on the fly. Drew Mac and Bobby had to do a face-off backstage, and they improvised, and I'm so proud of them. Yes, they stumbled over their words. There was some stuttering. They kind of got flustered, but they held it together, man. And for several minutes, entertained the best way that they could. Braun Strowman on the fly last night, and he cut one of his best promos ever. It was just so cool to see them have to be put in that position. It's sink or swim. You're going to do one or the other. How bad you want to survive. And these boys and gals went out there and they swam, man. So cool. So cool to see. Finally, after a near 45-minute delay, Titus O'Neil and Hulk Hogan, the hosts of WrestleMania, announce the start of the show. Right from the jump, before we even get into the matches, I'm putting a good into the good column. Because of the way that everybody handled themselves. Nobody panicked. They put together a 45-minute rain delay as entertaining as they possibly could have. They were put in a really tough position, and I feel everybody came out better in the end. I'm giving everybody, the roster, I'm actually giving this company a huge compliment right from the start. I am putting a good into the good column because they held it together during something we have never seen before in WWE history, at that level anyway, WrestleMania, and we start with a 45-minute rain delay. Brah, they held it together. That could have went off the rails. Tragically. They held it together. That goes into the good. And then we go into the first match of the night. So I'm starting them off good. Can they keep the momentum going? Match number 1 was the WWE Championship. This is what opened the night. Champion Bobby Lashley taking on challenger Drew McIntyre. This was a 19-minute match when it was all said and done. These dudes were wrestling in the rain still, because it was still coming down. Yes, they had the canopy, whatever you call it, covering them, but with the little bit of wind in the way that it was coming down, the trajectory, you could see it still in the ring coming down. You could see it hitting the ropes. You could see it on their backs. So they were basically wrestling in the rain. McIntyre was flying over the top rope like he was a cruiserweight in this match. That was so cool to see. The physicality in the match was top-notch. And perfectly placed false finishes, too. I mean, these false finishes, sometimes you see them often in matches to try to hype it up, and it just seems misplaced. Everything was perfectly placed in this match. And the false finishes was one of the things I noticed that added to the intrigue, man. The kickouts were at the right times to build suspense for the finale, which shocked BC. Because when this thing was straight up done, the Hurt Lock onto Drew McIntyre was expected. What was unexpected for yours truly was McIntyre to completely pass out, rendering the referee to call for the bell. Bobby Lashley retains via pass out. Drew McIntyre didn't just put over Bobby Lashley. He gave him any momentum and torch that he had this whole last year. And he said, dude, here's the ball. Run with it. Because I don't know how to fuck Drew McIntyre bounces back from this. I hope he does. I think he will. With the right booking. They have to work with him diligently now. Because he already found it hard to really grasp the attention of the audience this past year, collectively. It's going to be twice as hard now. But Bobby Lashley, this big bad boy, he got the ball last night. He didn't get the ball when he got the championship. That was all kind of muddied waters, right? Drew has it 1 week. The Miz cashes in for 1 week. Then Bobby gets it a week later. It was all muddied waters. The ball truly got passed to Bobby last night via Drew McIntyre. And you gotta believe that he's being built up just to be fed to Brock Lesnar, maybe 2022, WrestleMania 38. Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar for the championship. Do they allow Bobby to keep that title an entire year? In a company that likes to hot potato titles? That remains to be seen. But I couldn't be more proud of Bobby Lashley. I've been advocating for over a year now, really since he's returned to WWE, that this dude needs to be booked like a beast. Last night, this dude got the catapulted rocket strapped to his back. Even if he tries to get that off right now, it ain't gonna work. I couldn't believe that Drew did the deed the way he did the Bobby. But he did. This goes into the good column. For the match itself, but for that finish, man, and to see Bobby hoisting that championship up the way that he did, I feel for Drew. They must have some type of plan, I'm guessing, for Drew to lose the way he did. But when it was all said and done, man, you can't take this moment from my boy Bobby Lashley. Just fucking phenomenal. This goes into the good column. So right from the jump, we got 2 in the good column. I wish that momentum could be carried into match number 2, but this would end up being a travesty. Get a swig of coffee, and we're going to talk about it. So we go into the second match of the night, and unfortunately, I'm not joking or exaggerating when I say this was one of the worst professional wrestling matches I have ever witnessed. And it's a shame for 2 main reasons. Number 1, out of all the stages for them to put on a shit show, it had to be on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania. I honestly feel bad for these gals. And I feel even worse for them because this all could have been avoided if the old man in Stamford, Connecticut just gave a shit about what these ladies were doing. His answer to everything is just throw everyone out there. Triple threats, fatal 4-ways, 6-man tags, 8-man tags, 10-man tags, battle royals, gauntlet matches. Once in a while is fine. Every show is redundancy at a max level. And this dude usually has multiple schmaz matches per show. And he does this because it's an easy way out for him. He can use everyone on the roster without using up any of his time or energy. It's lazy and it's not creative. And nobody, and BC means nobody, ends up looking good in these circus sideshow matches. Everyone is just rushing through the match so they can get their big spot in. The crowd can't keep up, the match becomes sloppy, and none of it will be remembered in the end. This crap has no business on a WrestleMania card. I can't stand doing this because it's not the fault of the talent. This solely lies on the shoulders of VKM. But VKM has to be held accountable for this BS booking, and it has to stop for the future. Thus, I have no choice but to put a tally into the ugly column before we even review the match. The booking alone has to stop. You have to stop throwing in 6, 8, 10, 20 females just to use everybody. Because it's not fair to them, it's not fair to your audience. It doesn't help them, it doesn't help your audience, it doesn't help your company. Unapologetically, that gets an ugly right from the jump. And you could say, BC, you're being too mean, man. That's overly critical. That's a little harsh, BC. You heard the rules. At any time, I could add tallies to any match for any reason. How I review a match is not just what they do in the ring. It's the booking that goes into it. That was ugly to even think that should be on WrestleMania. The match itself was honestly, and I could not be more truthful with you, it was so bad. Worse than bad. Is there a word worse than bad? Yeah. Ugly. From the jump, Mandy Rose trips on the ramp during her entrance, and with the rain, you just knew it was gonna happen. You were just waiting to see who was going to actually shit the bed. Of course, here comes Mandy Rose, strutting down the aisle, playing professional wrestler. And she just falls on her ass. Dana Brooke has no fucking clue. She just keeps on fucking walking. Mandy Rose is shocked that she fell. Meanwhile, nobody else is. 2 minutes later, her partner, Dana Brooke, has a wardrobe malfunction. Did anybody even catch that? Because the camera caught it, they even had to cut to black on Peacock Network. Peacock! The Peacock Network had to cut to black for a couple of seconds because Dana Brooke had her wardrobe malfunction. So I guess when it comes down to it, Mandy was tripping and Dana Brooke was nip slipping. Sorry. It's early in the morning. Then you had Greg Hamilton. I'm not even done. Those are just the entrances. Greg Hamilton is announcing the wrong winners of the match. That was straight up hilarious. There was one too many botches to count. I'll let botches slide here and there, right? Every match may have a botch. Maybe even two. There were so many I couldn't even count them. I'm not even going to try to keep up with them. It was a botch fest. Even fruit roll-ups. You know, the roll-up pin that we call fruit roll-ups on this channel because everybody seems to win with a fruit roll-up these days. Even fruit roll-ups were muffed. How do you muff a fruit roll-up? This was literally a circus, and it was so sad to watch because I really respect most, if not all of those females. Naomi had to be a part of this. My girl Naomi had to participate in this shit-fest circus. I really felt bad for everyone involved. This match, clearly, you know where I have to put this. It already received one ugly for the booking of it, for even having this on the card, and thinking it was going to go any other way. But the actual match that they put on, it was too bad. I don't care if I'm sounding too mean or being too mean. I can't just put this into the bad column because I would be lying to you, and I refuse to do that. This match was sheer ugliness. Thus, it goes into the ugly column. And this is really bad because you heard the rules earlier. Every ugly. I specifically said several times, stay away from the ugly column because every ugly will get crossed off when we do the final tally and it turns into two bads. Because there has to be punishment for putting ugly content into your show. So the punishment is that gets crossed off into two bads. So now, with back-to-back uglies for one really ugly match, you basically have 4 bads to 2 goods. And I spotted them a good at the jump of the show. 2 matches in, 1 ugly, 2 goods. Which again equates to 4 bads and 2 goods. They gotta pick it up for match number 3. And as we move on, will they be able to do such? Find out in a second. Again, a swig of coffee. We'll talk about match number 3. Who was this? Cesaro and Rollins, I believe? Yes, Seth Rollins and Cesaro was match number 3. This was an 11-minute match. This was only 11 minutes. This is Cesaro versus Seth freaking Rollins at WrestleMania. And they got 11 minutes? I expect that on Monday Night Raw, or maybe SmackDown. But come on, man! The only reason this isn't going into the bad column, on that merit alone, time-wise, is because these two greats took every one of those 11 minutes and made them matter. They made it fun, they made it entertaining, and they made it count. I'm not surprised at all that these two turned shit into gold last night. And to watch Cesaro defeat Rollins in that sheer emotion on his face and have a WrestleMania moment. It may not have been for a top prize or any glamorous accolade, but it's a WrestleMania moment for a dude who has been on several Manias and he's never had a one-on-one match. There's no way I'm going to take that away from him. What they did with this 11 minutes was fun. The UFO, the swing, you name it. This goes into the good column. Absolutely. There's no way I can take anything away from this, except for the time. I really do. At least give them 4, round it out to 15. They deserve that respect. 11 is for Raw or SmackDown. And even then, I'd raise an issue with it. But there's no way I'm taking that away from my boy Cesaro. What a fucking moment. I love the shit that happened. Seth Rollins was just getting swung every which way. UFO style, swing style. Rollins is probably still dizzy this morning with 7 coffees that he's pounding. He still can't fucking wake up. And again, I think Rollins is going to be just fine. Not only does he have the talent, but this new character is finally coming around. I think he's finding himself with this character. Same thing I've been saying about Sami Zayn. And finding who this character truly is. Rollins, I think we're going to see the best out of him that we've seen in recent years anyway with this character. I think he'll be fine. And I don't think we've seen the last of Cesaro and Rollins either. I don't know if we need to continue this, but something tells me you're going to see it again probably this Friday night on SmackDown. So that goes into the good column, man. Match number 3, Rollins-Cesaro. Match number 4 was for the Raw Tag Titles. This is New Day, your champions, taking on challengers AJ Styles and Omos. This was also an 11-minute match, so back-to-back 11-minute matches. It's no secret that I didn't like the booking of this match. That's to say it mildly. I mean, Omos this is his first match on the main roster, and it's a title match? It just makes the titles look less prestigious. In fact, not prestigious at all, pretty irrelevant. But it also makes the company look like idiots. This guy can just show up, have his first match, and it's for a championship? What does that say about your division? What does it say about your championship? What does it say about your company? Or the competition or lack thereof within the division? And also AJ Styles. Last year he's taken on The Undertaker, and this year he's going for tag titles. I just didn't like the booking of this up front. But they did exactly what needed to be done here. Book Omos like a destructive force. And he was. We didn't need to see the New Day win another good match. We've seen them win enough good matches. We also didn't need to see an AJ Styles clinic just to win irrelevant tag titles. We've seen enough AJ Styles clinics for much higher prizes in the past. No, this had to be an Omos masterpiece theater performance. It had to be all about him. This was his calling card to the pro wrestling world. Book him like a beast, dude. He's a 19-foot-tall monster. Slight exaggeration. Treat him as such. And they did last night. That is the only reason this is going into the good column. The New Day doing the deed like they did for Omos. Obviously, losing to AJ Styles, there's no shame in that. But for a dude who hasn't been proven yet, who hasn't earned too much yet for the New Day, for Kofi and Xavier, to put this dude over like that, mad props. For Styles to, I believe he became a Grand Slam champ last night. I'll have to recheck that, but I believe so. Congrats to him. And for Omos, this was his calling card, and he looked really good in there. So I'm not a fan of it up front. I would not have gone this route. But you make your bed, now you gotta lie in it. This is what we're handed. This is what we're dealt. Going forward, I can do a lot with Styles and Omos. And I know where I would have it lead to, and maybe I'll discuss that in future videos. But I do see a lot of good stemming from this. More than I do bad. So that will go into the good column. So after Rollins and Cesaro in match number 3, and then match number 4 with the Raw Tag titles, a couple of goods squeaked in there. So now what we have is basically 4 to 4. 2 uglies, which will get crossed off to 2 bads apiece when we do the final tally, and 4 goods. So right now we're pretty much tied going into match number 5, which I believe is that the steel cage match. Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. Yes, actually. I believe it because that's exactly what the match was. In fact, that was 13 minutes. Steel cage match, 13 minutes at WrestleMania. Again, I have an issue with the timing. You gotta round that at least to 15. It's a cage match. Say, BC, I don't need to see Braun Strowman for 15 minutes, but you gotta sell the story. 13 minutes? I know, I'm an old school traditionalist wrestling fan, but a cage match deserves that. 13-minute match, Strowman versus Shane McMahon. It's no secret I love watching Shane McMahon in these matches because I know he's gonna do some daredevil damn type shit. The rest of the community is always crying Shane is taking someone's spot. And BC's over here like, shut the fuck up! Don't ruin it for BC! Because I love watching Shane McMahon. And I'm over here like, don't ruin it for me. Sure enough, what Shane did in this match was just mind-boggling bonkers, bro. First, Strowman literally rips the cage apart to yank Shane back through it, which is pretty cool. So Strowman looks solid in that spot. That's the monster that he should be looking like. But they fucked this dude up every which way that you possibly could for the last several years. They give Strowman a few inches, they take him back a mile every time. Looks like he's getting a push, and then he gets dragged into a fucking mud hole. But he looked like a monster when he ripped that cage through and pulled Shane McMahon back in. So that was really cool. And then Strowman takes McMahon to the top of the cage, and I shit you not, this man catapulted Shane McMahon off the cage, complete flip, and McMahon cascaded back first into the canvas. As Mick Foley himself once said, that hurt more than anything in his career when The Undertaker did it to him 23 years ago. And that was on the top of the cage. It was a choke slam. Cage gave way, and Mick Foley went right through back first. And he said that was the hardest bump he ever took. Now, whether McMahon had a little bit of extra padding on his back, it didn't look it, or whether the mat had a little bit of extra padding, didn't look it, but it's possible. But either way, that shit you're gonna feel for the next week, next month, maybe for the rest of your life. If you truly know about pro wrestling, you've heard enough of those stories, and you, like BC, have been in a ring, you know how hard a bump is. And to take a bump like that to know pro wrestling, and again, if you have ever been in a ring, you know how hard that was, and you cringed. And you were just hoping he was okay. No matter the hate this dude gets by fickle, fair-weather fans, I, B, C, Amplified, and my Amplified unit base, we will always put respect on this dude's name. He doesn't have to even do this, let alone take the risks that he does. He's the boss's son. He doesn't need a WrestleMania payday or a Vengeance or a Backlash payday. He doesn't need to compete on Raw. He doesn't have to show up on a Raw. He does it because it's in his blood. He loves this. He loves going up there and doing that type of shit. And it's more captivating. If I'm being honest with you, it's more captivating than 85% of the roster. 100% of the roster, nearly, minus several individuals. If you follow this channel, you know who I'm talking about. But nearly 100% of the talent roster has talent. But it takes more of that to captivate people. It takes more than just gymnastics or how many flips you can do or great sequences. Things like ring psychology, selling, right? How you sell for others, not just your offense. How you captivate. The things you're willing to do in the ring. That's how Mick Foley came to dominance. If you're an old school traditionalist fan, you loved Mick Foley in WCW and ECW. But Mankind was okay, average keel. Right? Fans could take him or leave him. After that Hell in a Cell match in 98, Mick Foley became a household name. But why? He was willing to do shit nobody else was. He did shit that nobody else we've never seen before. And people like Ric Flair originally made fun of that. Oh, that's the only way he could get over is by doing that daredevil shit. Well, guess what? He did it. And it worked because he captivated at a time where others weren't doing that. He tapped into that. He was willing to do it because he loves it. He wants to do it. Didn't need to. Wants to. I just don't know how people can't respect that. And what a bump. I couldn't believe it, man. That's good. That's absolutely good. I mean, damn, bro. Strowman looked like a fucking beast. And by the way, he went back in. And some people may say, oh, he could have just left. Yeah, but that's what makes him a beast. He's not a fucking coward. He didn't just drop to the floor and go, okay, that's it. This dude called you stupid for an entire month and a half. He didn't just end it. He went back in to add some more wabakas for good measure. He picked him back up and gave him another bump on his back via a power slam. So Braun looked beast status here. Finally. Now keep him as such. And Shane, we knew he was going to do something awesome. I didn't think he was going to take a bump like that, bro. That hurts more than when he does the elbow off the top of the cage into the table. I'm sure he'll tell you the same thing. Mick Foley even said that when he took the fall back first into the commentary table from the Hell in a Cell. He said what hurt even worse was the time he went through the cage onto the canvas. There's no way that would go anywhere else but the good column, man. Thank you to Shane McMahon for putting his body on the line when he doesn't need to do any of that shit. Mad props. And we'll always put, I know the community likes to shit on Shane a lot. BC in this unit, this channel will always put respect on that dude's name. Match number 6. So I believe right now we're 5-4. After the two uglies in that women's turmoil. I think they call it tag team turmoil. That was the right call. You should absolutely call that match turmoil. After that debacle that scored two uglies, we're back on the right track, man. Cesaro and Rollins and Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman in the Raw Tag title match. New champions AJ Styles and Omos. We're back on the right track, and now we're 5-4. We're back into the good column. Can we keep that momentum going? I'm sure many of us thought, unfortunately, no, because match 6 was Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus Miz and Morrison. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you who were thinking, BC's putting this directly into the ugly. Not so fast. From the jump, I thought so as well, because 67 bunnies came hopping to the ring as Miz and Morrison performed Hey Hey Hop Hop live. No joke. That actually happened. Then Bad Bunny comes to the ring after Priest, and Bunny's entrance was insane. If The Rock and Trish Stratus had a baby, and that kid grew up to be a pro wrestler, I assure you, not even little Rocky Stratus would have such a royal entrance. This bunny dude came rolling into the stadium atop an 18-wheeler. And then McMahon unloaded the entire spring-summer pyro budget on Bunny's entrance. No shade to the bunny, good for him, but damn! If the old man only put that energy into dudes like Cesaro, Aleister Black, and Shinsuke, etc., the company would be in a much better place. Anywho, I digress. Match time was 15 minutes. So they gave the Bad Bunny match more time than Rollins and Cesaro, more time than a steel cage match, more time than a Raw Tag Championship match. The Bunny got 15 minutes. I couldn't believe what I witnessed, though. Bad Bunny was really good in his debut, and this match was actually good. Like, at times, really good. If you watch the crowd was on their feet, especially toward the end of this thing. They were into it. Cheering hysterically by the end of this. That pyro pumped this dude's confidence or some shit, but the Bunny was on another chain level. He's diving off the top of the post, double suplexing. He even hit a Canadian Destroyer. That's a true story. Bad Bunny hit a Canadian Destroyer on John Morrison. You heard me. His timing was on point. I mean, I know I'm dissecting this. I mean, that's what I do. This is why I this is why I do the good, the bad, and the ugly. I dissect every part of the match. And I watched vividly on his timing, and it was right on par and right on cue. His timing was on point. His selling was better than most wrestlers today. Because nobody wants to sell in today's wrestling. Damian Priest complimented him perfectly. So props to Damian Priest as well in this match. And Miz and Morrison were brilliant in the anti-Bunny Brigade roles that they played. So props to Miz and Morrison too. This match does not go off the way it does. We do not praise Bad Bunny this morning if it wasn't for Miz, Morrison, and Damian Priest. So they all get a round of applause, man. If I didn't have the coffee, it'd be a little louder. But a round of applause from the amplified unit. And Bad Bunny, wow, I know. And I told you guys this was going to happen. A few videos ago, I told you exactly what was going to happen. It was going to be like Snooki a few WrestleManias ago. Or many WrestleManias ago. And funny, John Morrison was actually in that match as well. But Snooki was involved in a WrestleMania tag match with John Morrison. And Trish Stratus was in that match. And I told you guys that it was heavily rehearsed. And because of that, Snooki came off looking pretty good. And I told you guys this was going to be heavily rehearsed. And don't be surprised if Bad Bunny, we knew Priest would be alright. Don't be surprised if Bad Bunny actually delivers a good performance. But not even BC expected this. The dives this dude was taking, the perfectly timed double suplex with Damian, the Canadian Destroyer, the selling, the just timing, all of it, man. I can go on and on probably another 10 minutes. I was shocked by what I saw by Bad Bunny last night. But again, in a tag match, it takes 4 to tango. And damn, did they rock this out, man. Mad props to Priest, Miz, Morrison, and the Bunny. That is Bad Man. We all talking about how bad the Bunny was last night. Pretty fucking badass, dude. So going into the main event, we're now at 6-4. If you cross off those uglies later on when we do the final tally, it becomes 4 bads. We got 6 in the good now. The only way that this can end in a tie is if another ugly gets put up from the main event. Can Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair, is that match really going to be bad? And if so, is it going to be so bad that it deserves an ugly? Swig of coffee, we're going to talk about it. Main event time, man. It's a history-making match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We know this. First time ever that 2 females main evented WrestleMania. 1-on-1. I feel bad for Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. That should have been it a couple years ago. What was it? Last year? 2 years ago, right? And they added Charlotte Flair into that unnecessarily, just because Vince loves to add a third person at the last second to ruin what could have been a really good fucking match. And just did it again this year, actually, with tonight's main event. I mean, as much as we all love Daniel Bryan, why would he be needed? And he doesn't need to be. Just let these dudes do what they do. Edge and Roman will blow you away with what they can do one-on-one. Nope, Bryan's going to be there. It's going to be a good match tonight, no doubt. I don't see any match tonight that's going to be well, maybe there's one or two. We'll discuss that tomorrow. But Daniel Bryan and Roman and Edge, it's going to be a good match. I don't see how those three could possibly put on a bad match together. I'm just saying it's not needed. Charlotte Flair was not needed in that match a few years ago. Becky Lynch, Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey, that was it. But it wasn't. This ends up going down in history as the first ever one-on-one main event for females in WrestleMania history. So that's weighing on them as it is. But then they got to go out there and have a main event title match. When you put the history aside, you got to go out there now. The weight of the world is on your shoulders. The company is putting all this stock into you. You got to go and do the deed now. And you could tell from the national anthem, or America the Beautiful, that was played at the beginning, and all the superstars were at the top of the ramp, the beginning of the night, even before the rain delay, and all the superstars on the stage, and you watch Sasha Banks, how proud she is. And she cannot even hold back the smile because she knows how hard she has worked to get to this point, and she is in the main spot. Man, how do you not get goosebumps? And there may be a little bias for those of you new subscribers, in case you didn't know, being newer. This is a pro Sasha Banks channel. We love Sasha Banks not because we just are involved in fandom. It's because we know how damn good she is. And how she's not only belonged in this match, but she's belonged in these type of matches for years now. So to watch Sasha have this moment, I couldn't be more prouder. And then to watch Bianca Belair and where she came from to where she was at last night. How could you just not be so proud? And know what they are going through, the emotions with Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. In fact, Bianca was in tears before the match even began, guys. She was trying to hold back tears before the bell rang and they were being announced. And then Michael Cole, and I'm sure it was induced by Michael Cole bellowing out from the commentary table that this is the first time ever two black women are main eventing WrestleMania. And Belair is just bawling. Maybe she overheard that too. I don't know. But as I stated, it's the first time any two females went one-on-one in the main event of WrestleMania. But damn, to be Bianca and hear Michael Cole yell out, first time ever two black females main event WrestleMania. I mean, Bianca, how do you not think like, damn, this is like real history, like years from now, this is gonna be brought up. I don't know, I can't fathom that, man. What a fucking match. 17 minutes. I would have at least liked to see 25 minutes to make this a true just classic. By definition of wrestling terms, man, I would have liked to see 25 minutes at least. I felt they could have easily went it. But they gave him 17, but it was so damn good it felt like 27, so I'm taking it. I wanted, if I'm being truthful, I wanted it to really be 117 minutes. That's how good this was to me. I love both of these gals. This has always been a pro Sasha Banks channel, and we've always been behind Bianca Belair, even when we had to be harsh via tough love. It was hard for BC, yours truly, to call bullshit on the booking that Sasha has had to put up with for the last several years. It was hard for me to come on videos like this and call out the bad booking because Sasha was involved in it. And I was talking about how bad the segments were. Not because of Sasha, but because of the booking. And it was hard for me to talk negatively about about a Sasha Banks segment in general being bad. It was truly hard for me to do such. And it was equally tough for me to say that Bianca shouldn't have been in that big takeover match a few years ago with Shayna Baszler. I didn't feel she should be in there. It was the wrong timing. I loved Bianca Belair. It just felt misplaced. I respected these gals enough to put my fandom aside and be bluntly honest so that this moment, if it ever did happen, we would all be on cloud 9. Well, it did happen. And I don't know about you, but BC was on cloud 9. because the stars aligned and this just felt right. So my point is, through all the tough times, through all the harsh critiques via tough love that I showed Sasha and Bianca to get to this moment, I couldn't have been more proud. I was like a proud father, even though, don't get it twisted, I'm not old enough to be their father, all right? Let's just make that clear. I felt like I just felt so proud, man, of these gals. And I truly was on cloud nine. These warriors were just on from the opening bell. The chemistry, the physicality, the emotion, the mannerisms, the selling, the psychology. There was not one area in 17 minutes that went unchecked. They checked off all the boxes that you would need to put on a damn good wrestling match. The end sequence was pulse pounding as Bianca swung her braid so hard into Sasha's mid-region, you could hear the impact from Tampa to New York City. And as I said earlier, the UK is probably hearing the repercussions and the aftershocks from that braid smacking Sasha's midsection, her stomach area. She had like this strap that she doesn't usually have, which is obviously to help the sound effect when that braid hit. So that was strategically done by the costume department. I believe her own husband makes her outfits. But it hit pure flesh as well. So you had the leather with the flesh making that cringeworthy sound that they heard in Tampa and that we all heard across the world. Man, did we feel that. We felt for Sasha and we felt the pain. That was insane, bro. And you saw the pic at the jump of this very review. I posted a pic up during the montage. You saw the welt that was just minutes after the match. I couldn't imagine what it looks like today. But I couldn't believe that sequence. And watching the crowd just cover their mouth like, oh, no! And then later, Bianca rattles Sasha into a KOD. And I just knew. I mean, the way they were, the whole end sequence was just done so beautifully. I think she was going for a Meteora or something from the top, and Bianca was tied up. And Bianca was supposed to do like a sit-up, and Sasha was supposed to miss the Meteora and do a roll. It came off a little odd. Sasha over jumped it, and maybe Bianca didn't do the sit-up on top. I don't know. That came off a little weird, but because of the camera positioning, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, or as it could have looked. That was the only misstep, I guess. And that's easily going to be forgotten. In fact, it probably already has been for most of it. If I wasn't doing a full throttle dissectional review, it wouldn't even be mentioned this morning. But that's just something of note that was in the end sequence. Everything else, they were just on par, man. And you knew when that KOD hit, that was it. My girl Sasha was dropping that championship. And sure enough, Bianca Belair pins the SmackDown Women's Champion and becomes the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Bianca, raw emotion just starts flooding out of her. I remember when Benoit won his championship at Mania. What was that, 20, I believe? Eddie Guerrero. And I just remember all this raw emotion. Shawn Michaels at 12 when he defeated Bret Hart. I just, all of these memories came back to BC from WrestleMania moments when somebody wins a championship and they just, their whole career flashes before their eyes, and they just instantly remember how hard it was to get to that point, how hard they worked. And it was all for that moment. And people say, oh, wrestling's fake or it's not real. And then you see raw emotion like that. And these schmucks don't understand just how real wrestling is. We're not saying the punches or the moves. Wrestling is so much more real for many other reasons that these idiots that don't watch the product could never even comprehend. And I just, man, for Bianca to hoist up that title, and for anybody to say she's undeserving of it yet, stop. You haven't followed Bianca. You don't know her talent level. You don't know how willing she is to learn what she doesn't know and get better by the day, by the hour, by the minute, because that's who Bianca is. When she says the EST, she means it. And that's what made her and Sasha so damn good from the jump. Sasha truly believes she's the best in the world. And until somebody takes that throne, because taking the title is not taking the throne from Sasha. Make no mistake, Sasha is still the best in the fucking world. In time, does Bianca become that? She's got a damn good shot. That's a damn good start. But this doesn't happen if Sasha doesn't do the deed, pass that torch, pass that championship to Bianca. But I'm not so sure she passed the torch fully. Sasha's still the top of the game. This was just a title changing hands, don't get it twisted. Sasha believes she's the best. Bianca believes that even though she's the rookie, she's the best. And that's what made this work. So yeah, she's absolutely deserving of this. It's absolutely the perfect timing to pull the trig and make a star like Bianca, because she already is. In a company where Vince ruins everybody, this was a blessing to see. Sasha goes, what, 0 for 6? Maybe 0 for 7. I believe it's 0 for 6. Could be 0 for 7. I don't know. But Sasha has lost, I believe, every WrestleMania match she's been in. But this one, this is the one asterisk, the one mulligan that I am definitely okay with, because I love Sasha Banks, and for me to say that this just felt right. And to watch Sasha, there's video, guys, I caught this. There's video that is circulating of Sasha post-match. Somebody took video who was in attendance while the main camera for the pay-per-view for Peacock was on Bianca celebrating. Sasha was selling her injury by the barricade outside, but she couldn't hold back her smile. She was so happy for Bianca. And to think that there's fans today that are probably not happy for Bianca, they're frustrated, just know that even the person that dropped the title was ecstatic for Bianca. If Sasha can be happy, just be happy for once. Honestly, man. Sasha could not hold back. Nobody sells better than Sasha in that women's division. But she could not hold back that smile when she was watching Bianca celebrate in the ring. I thought that was the coolest video. Right next to another video that I saw of Bianca coming through the curtain when the pay-per-view went off the air. And Montez, her husband, picks her up, brings her backstage, drops her off, and Bianca just broke down in tears. And Mickie James says that all the females and I believe the whole roster most likely, but she said the whole locker room was waiting for Bianca when she got through the secondary curtains. So everybody was... So how real is pro wrestling to these wrestlers? You think it's just, oh, I won the title. All right, that's just storyline. Here, somebody take this. No, it means the world to them. We've seen it time and time again when somebody wins that grand prize. All of that work, breaking bones, losing blood for this business. It's all too real. Did I even put this into the... Obviously, that's fucking good, man. That goes right into the good column. We didn't have to worry about a tiebreaker, thankfully, because of bad weather, there was no kickoff show. So that would have sucked, ending this in a tie. 7-4, night one of WrestleMania. I did not expect this score on paper. And I never want to see a WrestleMania on paper like this ever again. Excluding a couple of matches, obviously. But damn, did these men and women go out there and perform at a level even higher than they originally probably thought they had in them. And that's what they did, and that's why this became 7-4. Guys, this was a good night one. Not just by a tally. 7-4, I have it. And if you took out that ridiculous, tragic match that the women put on in match number 2, not even mostly a fault of their own, although the match was really fucking ugly. The booking alone should never have even been placed. If you took that out, and maybe another match was in, or you just take it out completely, this could have been a sweep. Possibly. We'll never know. 7-4. Good night number 1. We go into night number 2 now. We'll see what they produce. I'm guessing most matches, if not all, are going to be good. But don't expect me to just put good tallies in for every match, just because every match is good. We're still we have to be honest about the booking, and we have to be honest about other areas and aspects of the match. So I'm not just going to place everything into the good column just because it was a good match. It's WrestleMania. We need more than just a good match. So we'll see what tonight holds, man. I'm expecting the triple threat main event to be good, but it has to be a level more than that for that to actually go into the good column, because on paper, this was just not needed as a triple threat, but that's what we got. Also tonight, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Also tonight, my girl Alexa Bliss taking on with my boy Bray Wyatt. You know, both are going to be out there for Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton, so it's going to be good to see that storyline finally culminate, I'm guessing. I don't think you could do any more with it afterwards. That's going to be tonight as well. And then we have the more women's tag action, which, if it's anything like last night, man, it's an automatic ugly. I'm not going to apologize for that. So we'll see what tonight produces. Thank you for joining me for night one of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hopefully you guys were entertained during this review. Hopefully we dropped some knowledge and facts. And, to my veteran subs, much love. Thank you for always being there for the AMP channel, especially on these big videos like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And for newer subscribers, welcome on board, man. It's going to be a fun ride, I assure you. You might not agree with everything BC says, but I assure you, I will make you think about everything in the process. Much love and respect. We'll go on to tonight. We'll do this all again tomorrow. I hope to do it live. We'll see. Until next time, think, be, live, amplified. Enjoy WrestleMania Night 2 tonight. Till then, check you later.